Thank you. We're here today to discuss the decision made by the Licensing Subcommittee regarding the summary review of the Duke of Devonshire. On the 2nd of August 2021, an application was made by Hampshire Constabulary under Section 58A of the Licensing Act 2003 for a summary review of the premises licence for the Duke of Devonshire Public House, 119 Albert Road, Southsea, PO5 2SQ. The application was accompanied by a signed certificate by a senior member of Hampshire Constabulary, which states that in the officer's opinion, the Duke of Devonshire is associated with serious crime or serious disorder or both. The Licensing Subcommittee, of which myself, Councillor Swan and Councillor Madrick were our members, met on the 4th of August 2021 to consider whether it was necessary to take interim steps pending the full review of the premises licence. Having heard from Acting Police Sergeant Rackham and considered the certificate and application, the subcommittee determined to suspend the licence with immediate effect. The premises licence holder, Mr Yamin, was not present at that hearing, but had been given advance notice of the application. Immediately following the meeting of the subcommittee, Mr Yamin was notified of the decision and of his right to make representations in respect of it. Mr Yamin chose to do so, and a hearing was arranged for today for these to be considered by the subcommittee. The subcommittee heard today from Acting Police Sergeant Rackham together with the licensing officer. Mr Yamin was also in attendance today and represented by his solicitor, Mr Woolsgrove. All parties were given the opportunity to present their cases and ask questions. The subcommittee at this hearing is required to consider whether the interim steps are appropriate for the promotion of the licence and objectives and determine whether to withdraw or modify the steps taken. At all times, the Licensing Subcommittee reminded itself that it must carry out its functions under the 2003 Licensing Act with a view to promoting the licensing objective. The licensing objectives engaged are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. In determining this matter, the subcommittee has taken into account the oral and written evidence available today from the police and the premises licence holder and considered the council's statement of licensing policy. The relevant sections of the 2003 Licensing Act and regulations made thereunder, the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Act, including the specific guidance issued around Section 53A and the licensing objectives and the Human Rights Act and the Equality Act. The subcommittee accepted legal advice that it should disregard any other representations put to it from other parties. Such representations can be considered in due course at the full review hearing. The subcommittee considered all available options and concluded that the appropriate action in this matter was to retain the interim step of suspension of the licence until Wednesday the 11th of August 2021 at 11 a.m. and modify the conditions of the current premises licence for the Duke of Devonshire as set out in the document provided by Mr Woolsgrove. Whilst the subcommittee note that the applicant is confident that all necessary actions will be in place by Monday the 9th of August 2021, it does not share its confidence. Upon the police and licensing authority being satisfied that all new conditions are in place, the interim step of suspension of the licence shall be removed. The subcommittee considered that the measures described above are necessary to ensure compliance with the four licensing objectives and are a proportionate response to the concerns raised in the application. A full review of the licence will be held on the 20th of August 2021 at 2:30 p.m. There is no right to appeal to a magistrate's court against the licensing authority's decision at this stage. Thank you.
So in respect to that decision, I would ask you to clarify why or which conditions specifically you say couldn't be complied with by Monday, given the representations that all of the conditions have been complied with other than the CCTV, which is being installed tomorrow, and the wand being delivered, which that condition only applies next Friday anyway. I appreciate we've got no right of appeal to a magistrate's court, but we have got the right to a judicial review. And I think it's important you explain why you don't have the confidence that the conditions agreed with the police could not be complied with from Monday, and why you've chosen Wednesday, because it would appear with respect that seems to be more of a punishment for what's happened rather than directly relating to the conditions, all of which both the police and the licence holder have said are in place.
I'm going to hand over to Tracy.
I mean, obviously I can't speak for the committee, but I think the committee's concerns were that actually there wouldn't be sufficient time for those conditions to be put in place. And I'm not entirely sure that we had evidence from Acting Police Sergeant Rackham in respect that they are now in place.
With respect respect, I don't think it's for me to comment on whether they're in place or not, because I've not been able to visit the premises to check that. You would need to obviously rely on Mr. Walsgrove and Mr. Yaman for that. I can't.
Yeah, I simply asked you because Mr. Walsgrove has just said that you would agree that the conditions and the actions have been taken and are in place.
Well, I think Sergeant Rackham in his representation made the point, which I repeated, that if conditions are imposed, he can't open unless those conditions are complied with. And so suspending it until Wednesday, I just don't understand the logic, because if there were a condition which couldn't be complied with by Monday, he couldn't open anyway until they are complied with. And you've heard evidence from me that all of the conditions are in place, save the CCTV, which will be done tomorrow, and the wand, which will be there by Sunday. So which condition is it that you don't think can be done until Wednesday?
Is there anything you want to add on that? Are you happy to hand over?
I will hand over. I will say in fairness of Mr. Walsgrove that part of those conditions that you've read out said that it will not be open until the police and the licensing officer have confirmed that the conditions have been met. So I do agree with that.
Members, if it helps, we would do a compliance check, both police and licensing together, just to ensure they are in place, if that helps at all.
That is what I'm asking. That's perfect.
So you're happy with that?
Perfectly happy with that.
Fine, then I think we'll make sure we amend the decision to reflect that the suspension will be lifted on the Monday, provided the conditions have been put in place. And we have confirmation from the police and from licensing that they are in place.
We would do the visit and obviously confirm with the premises licence holder that we're satisfied.
To make sense, so if you're willing to.
Just had a quick discussion with my two members next to me. They're happy with that. Obviously, if it's not complied with, obviously we will stick with the Wednesday decision.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that, Mr. Walsgrove?
Absolutely, they will be compliant.
If it's not complied with, then it won't be open until it is complied with, yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.